This content is brought to you by Westlund Incorporated, helping you create a vision for your life. How were you able to continually look ahead and not get trapped in those fearful thoughts? I know you said you still deal with things that come up from time to time, and that makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. But how do you keep that forward movement and don't get trapped in even what could have been, or what your life could have looked like had this not
Yeah.
happened?
Um, the answer is kind of in your question as well, because you just keep moving. There
Mm.
have been days, and even in this season, I think it was before COVID. It's probably in this, maybe before COVID, getting trapped in the mental tape that's playing. And
Yeah.
it's like, I remember staring at the wall, playing that tape of this situation and playing it over and over. And all I heard was like, move, move. You keep moving. That's what you do in the midst of it. What is the next right thing you need to do? Like, stop playing that tape. And so, because the tape is always going to get plopped in there in that brain, because those fears, insecurities, or that situation. For me, the underlining factors of my fear, I think, if we were to unpack it, and I'm being really like kind of, here's me, is the people pleasing. And it creeps up in the most weirdest ways. So if you don't feel validated by somebody, or if something happens, and it, so many things I could say, but we need to stop playing the tape. We need to know who we are. And for me, I needed to grow stronger in myself. So when those fears come, it's all about overcoming the battles of the mind, and keep
Yeah.
moving forward. Like, it doesn't mean to say that, like, life is not hard, and that, because here's a side note about that. So I'll answer it in this way. When you see people that have joy, or you see them, like, you think they're thriving, either one or two things is happening: either they're lying, or it's genuine, but they had to dig it out. Like, joy is actually, there's a misconception that when people have joy, they think their life is easy. People look at them and think their life is easy, or they're faking it, right? uh, but
That's
it's
true.
not. It's like, it means that you actually, if you're a praying person, if you see somebody that's, I'll say it this way. I talk a lot about the eagles. Sometimes when I speak, I like to talk about the eagles. And most people who know things about eagles is that they actually use the storm to its advantage. And when the storm
Yeah.
comes, the eagle has to really push into the storm to rise above it, so it can get a chance to rest its wings and soar. But to get up above the storm, it requires so much effort. I was like, listen, you see me or any other eagle soaring, could you pray for us a little more? Because it took a lot to get up here.
That's a great way of positioning that. It's a great visual to see that eagle soaring. You're absolutely right. I mentioned salmon swimming upstream
Yeah, yeah.
recently. It's the same thing, right? Their very existence relies on the fact that they have to push against that
Oh,
current,
yes.
and they have to swim into that current and push themselves upstream for their very
Yes.
survival, for their offspring.
Every day.
And it's the same kind of visual. Yeah, it's fascinating. But us as human beings, we tend to run away from those things. And rightly so. I mean, who wants to sign up for hardship and tough times? We don't want that. But most people with stories that are incredible like
Mm.
yours have come away with such awareness of who they truly are. And it's because they did not have a choice but to push through and find a way to the other side. And in that process, incredible
Yeah,
revelations have been uncovered. And it's a gift in
yeah.
the end. At least that's how I'm seeing it. That I would say of the vast majority of people may go through this life and never fully understand their
Mm-hmm.
capacity, their resilience, and what they are capable of.
Absolutely. I actually, one of the first things I start out in my mental health course, and I know I'm probably a little bit jumping ahead, but just as we're talking about this, one of the questions I ask is, why do you think some people rise as the heroes of their story with courage and resiliency and all those things, and other people quit or give up when faced with the same challenges. It's because in those struggles is what lies the power that unlocks all of that. And that is
Yep.
the understanding that we need. We still need to allow ourselves to go through that process and have all the emotional and human feelings. We're allowed to get upset, we're allowed to get all those things, but we can't let it keep us stuck. And so having the tools to be able to move forward, that's the key. And it's choice to not let that struggle defeat you. Now, did I feel like a hero when I was laying in that hospital bed or working through whatever it was I was working through in my life? I didn't know I was building resiliency. I didn't know.
Not in the
I didn't
moment,
feel too
no.
courageous, but I was courageous because I made it through. And courage is
That's
not
right.
the absence of fear, as we all know. It's acting in spite of fear, not letting the fear control you.
Yes, that's so good. You have not let that wheelchair that you are in every day stop you, and that is inspiring in and of itself. But I still see so many people that, as you just mentioned, they're kind of trapped in their circumstances. If there was one thing, Vian, that you would say to somebody today listening to this, what would you say to them?
I'm sorry that you're struggling, first of all, like foremost, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and there's some people in my circle, and as you know, like anyone that's listening, you all either are going through it or knowing somebody that is going through a real struggle right now. So what would I say? Like, I'm sorry that this is so hard. Like, I'm sorry that this is so hard. And I wish that there was something that I could say that would take it away or make it go away. And I wish I had some brilliant answer for you, but all I want to say is that you are loved, and to let someone love you where you're at. Because I know in our pain, we have a temptation to push people away because we're afraid, or we're afraid to let somebody in or be inconvenienced. But find the safe people that you trust and let them into your pain, because there's power in having someone understand where you're at. Because when you feel alone in your pain, it's the worst thing. And I felt alone in my pain for a long
Right.
time. But yeah, but it's
That's
yeah,
wise advice, very wise. And that really touched my heart because it's so simple. It's so simple. And yet, so many people are, and I find more and more right now, isolated in their struggles, like you just said. And especially since the pandemic, I think people have gone off into their corners and have done it even further. And thank you for
yeah.
just mentioning that. That's a
Yes. Can
powerful
I also
truth.
speak on the opposite side of
Mhm.
that? Like, because I've been on both sides. And also, when you're helping someone or someone has gifted you with this beautiful opportunity to get close to them in their pain, this is for
Mhm.
you. Uh, so I love analogies and stories because it actually really says the point more than I ever could. Have you ever? I seen a viral video once. It was about a seal. It got caught in the net, and the forest ranger was trying to set this seal free. It was all like it was so bound, like you could actually see it bleeding, and the ranger, the officer, he didn't care that the seal was like getting biting him, and he was struggling. This seal did not know that this person was there to rescue it, but the one who was rescuing didn't care that it would suffer a bite or the aggression. All it knew is that it needed to get close in order to set it free. And so when we are getting close
Mhm.
to people who are wounded by and bound up by all the things, all their trauma, all the things that they're going through, we need to not be offended by their struggle when they don't know that they can trust us yet. Don't be afraid to get bit every so often. Don't be afraid to let those offenses roll, because if you can like get over the offense and just know that this person that you're trying to get close to just needs to feel that love and be okay and not be offended by the responses that you're getting because they're in pain. That's the best way I can
Yep.
describe it, because that's what was happening to me. And my husband was that rescuer for me in a very real way, that he was willing to get subjected to the way I was lashing out or the way that I was treating him or whatever. And the people closest to me came close and loved me where I was at and was okay to work through until I was free. But listen, I tell you, I still had a lot of healing. When all those strings or those ropes come off, you're still bleeding, you're still sore, you're still vulnerable. So yeah, I hope
Yeah,
that made sense to someone
it
who's
did.
either in this struggle, to be gracious to yourself, and the one that's getting close to the person who's struggling, grace for yourself and each other as we try to move forward.
It's such a great perspective you just shared, because sometimes we just want to
Mhm.
maybe give advice from one side of that equation, but to see it from both sides, because you're going to be on either one side or the other side of that battle. So wonderful, wonderful advice there. I have to ask you, how has the vision for your life changed since this experience for you? Because this has now been a number of years ago. You've carried on, you've built an amazing life despite this massive challenge. How has the vision changed for you, or even has it? Has it strengthened? Has it changed?
Well,
Tell me a little
it's
bit
a
about
really
that.
good question. I feel the vision didn't really change. I changed. Uh, and the idea of the vision, like when I first got sick and when transverse myelitis, I had this dream for my future, this vision for my future that I had. I wanted to,
Yeah.
well, actually, I wanted to find love was one of the dreams I had, and I wanted to make an impact in the world. And I thought that because of my new reality, that that dream was no longer possible, right? I had that dream, I had that
Mhm.
vision. Uh, this journey that I've been on, like this pain journey, and the new person that I become as a person with a disability, actually enabled me to live out my dreams to impact in ways that like ways far beyond what I could have even imagined or hoped. So yeah, I feel that the vision kind of was enhanced in ways that I never could. So it morphed into something more beautiful that I could ever imagine. And so now what was something that was going to destroy me, like this, my wheelchair, if you will. Um, it, it I've been gifted with the opportunity to be able to turn it into a platform of hope and courage for others. And if my life can help somebody, if my journey of being in a wheelchair helps somebody else in their hope or courage journey to be able to find strength to keep going. Honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Obviously, there's a lot of pain I caused as a result of my journey that I wish didn't have to happen, but my pain journey developed in me the strength that I have today. And there's no price tag or do-overs on that.
Oh, that's incredible to hear that. You changed. Your
Hmm.
vision didn't change. Maybe your dreams have even expanded a little, but you changed in all of that. And that's the most
Most
powerful
powerful.
thing that could have changed in all of this. When you said that your dreams were crushed when all of this happened, you've come up with so many new parts of this story that you could have never probably imagined. And so I have to ask you, as we're kind of finishing up our conversation here, as you are moving forward with what you're doing and all the things you have on the go, what new dreams have emerged? I know you talked about your vision a little bit there, but what do you still have on the horizon that you would love to
Oh,
accomplish? And is that too big of a
um,
question, or are you?
well, we'll see. Yes and no. I wanted to keep it simple and just be like, obviously, there's always a new dream, a new thing that you're kind of working towards, but it's all for the bigger dream. Uh, what's next,
Yeah.
or the dream and how it's evolved. the thing that I could tell you lots of things that I'm excited about that I'm doing, but one thing that resonates with me more than any of it, and it's something that keeps me in check on the daily, and that is this: it doesn't really matter what I do. My goal and vision is to maintain inner joy and peace. That when people look at me, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm doing a Dancing with the Stars, or I'm doing a photo shoot, or I'm just at a coffee shop somewhere getting coffee, I want people to look at me and see and feel the love and joy that I have. And that is the biggest joy, the biggest dream that I have, to maintain that endurance of joy, because I don't know what bigger dream there is than to know that by the way I live, and that the joy that I have helps other people maybe find hope and courage. And so everything that I do is to accomplish that goal. But I need to first make sure that I'm doing the hard work and creating content, if you will,
Mhm.
or doing the next thing.
I really appreciate that answer, because it starts with you and the authenticity that you talk about. Not just accomplishing goals, but it has to start with you. You're doing the work and you're living it out. It's like living your life on display without saying a word. People will understand what you're all about and see it in you. And I can't think of a better example or a better goal in life than to be the person that, and to just
Mm.
emanate that person to everybody without actually
Mhm.
overexerting yourself or saying too much, that you're just on display
Mm.
authentically you. I think that's one of the greatest gifts that
Mm.
you could give to the world. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your
Mm.
story, Vian. I find you so inspiring, and I've taken so much from this conversation. I'm going to
Oh,
be
thank you.
listening to it again and just digging in. I hear it differently when I sit back and listen after it's all said and done, and just taking in some of the wisdom that you've shared. And I know, to some of the listeners of this discussion, if you've gone through something similar, like a devastating diagnosis or just a challenge, a big challenge in your life, I really hope and believe you've found some renewed hope here
Mhm.
through this conversation and through Vian's words, and maybe a new perspective on
Yes.
what's possible. So thank you so much. We're going to have some links to your resources. And if anybody wants to check out more about Vian and her story, we'll have all of that information up in the description, so you can click on those links. And again, thank you, Vian, for being here, sharing your story. And thanks to
It's
all
my
of you for
pleasure, Kim.
tuning in.
Thank you.